The movie begins during the early days of the COVID pandemic when Connecticut Governor Claire DeBella receives a mysterious box. Her husband tells her it's from Miles Braun before she joins an at-home interview. At Alpha Industries, scientist Lionel Toussaint is on a video call with his superiors, who are pleading with him not to sign off on his boss, Miles Braun's insane ideas, as he is about to potentially endanger lives with his latest creation. Miles then sends Lionel the same package. At a party, controversial supermodel Birdie J is being looked after by her helpless assistant Peg, as they also receive the package from Miles, and Peg is attempting to keep a drunken Birdie away from her phone. Finally, men's rights Twitch star Duke Cody is filming a video with his girlfriend Whiskey when his mother informs him that he has received the package. Claire, Lionel, Birdie, and Duke all call each other to figure out how to open the box. They find the box is a series of puzzles that lead to a building structure and Miles's invitation to his private island for the weekend after Lionel figures it out. Andy Brand is the last person to receive the package, and she smashes the box to pieces before discovering the invitation. Detective Benoit Blanc is in a bathtub on a video chat with his friends. They express concern for Blanc not leaving his apartment in between cases. Blanc's partner informs that someone came for him with a box. Blanc arrives at a dock for a ship that will take them to Miles's island. Claire, Birdie, Peg, Lionel, and Duke, joined by Whiskey, arrive at the dock. Claire recognizes Blanc and expresses her enthusiasm for his well-known cases. Just before they leave, Miles' assistant instructs them to take the disinfectant, allowing them to interact without masks, and gives them special bracelets. Everyone is taken aback when they see Andy arrive on the boat. On the ship, Lionel informs Blanc that everyone is surprised to see Andy, because she and Miles used to be partners. But Miles cut her out entirely and booted her out of the company without a dime. The guests arrive on Miles' island, where he greets them along with a random visitor named Deerol. Blanc introduced himself to Andy, and they talked briefly before joining the other guests. Miles then shows off his mansion, called the Glass Onion, which he named after a bar they used to be visited frequently. He announces that they will be taking part in a murder mystery in which he will be the victim, and informs them those special bracelets will take them to their rooms. Miles invites Blanc to his office, and it turns out he has not invited Blanc to the gathering, but Miles is shocked to learn that Blanc received the invitation. Blanc deduces that someone must have reset the box and sent him as a joke. Miles tells him to stay, thinking it would be nice to have a detective participate in his murder mystery. The guests settle near the pool, where they sip spiked kombuchas. Whiskey appears to be close with Miles, despite Duke's observation. Peg approaches Birdie and tells her that she needs to speak with Miles about a personal matter, and Birdie remarks on how Miles was a nobody when she first met him. Miles refers to them as the Disruptors and gives a brief speech to the group before Andy comes over to criticize him and the others, knowing they are latching on to Miles because he bankrolled Claire's political run, helped Birdie in her sweatpants business, Duke's Twitch career, and Lionel works for him. Peg then meets Miles and asks him to sack Birdie because the matter involves a sweatshop in Bangladesh that manufactures sweatpants, and if that happens, Birdie's career will be destroyed, and her career will go down too, but Miles is unconvinced. Blanc tries to smoke a cigar but gets scared by an alarm. He then notices Duke catching Miles and Whiskey having an affair in his room. At night, Miles gathers people for drinks and mentions that he has the real Mona Lisa on loan from the Louvre because they are short on funds due to the pandemic. It has a sensitive alarm system with an open failsafe. Miles then calls everyone together for another presentation. He has created a new, untested fuel source called Clear. Lionel tells him it's absurd because they need at least 2 years to conduct tests on Clear before releasing it to the public. However, they were shocked to learn that Glass Onion is powered by Clear. As the mystery game begins, Blanc deduces almost immediately that the murderer would be Birdie, because she is seated in a perfect position to operate a crossbow that would strike Miles remotely, and explains her reason would be the revenge for stealing her signature Wren diamond, which is her family heirloom. Blanc then tells Miles to unlock his pendant to reveal the Wren diamond. The arrow then kills Miles, which irritates him, but everyone gets impressed. Miles goes to clean himself up, and Blanc follows him and apologizes for spoiling the surprise so quickly, because he has brought people together who all have legitimate reasons to want him dead. Blanc then notices a framed artifact that Miles has, a cocktail napkin on which he allegedly scribbled the details that led to Alpha's development. Meanwhile, everyone is drinking downstairs, and he shows up and starts an argument, and Claire loses it and tells her they did it for the money, while Duke tells her she lost in the long run, and this causes Andy to walk out. After a while Miles joins them, and they start partying. Duke draws Miles' attention to something on his phone that he claims could be a game changer and land Duke a coveted spot in Alpha News. Miles makes himself a drink and joins Duke, who immediately begins choking. The others try to assist, but Duke dies. Blanc thinks someone has poisoned his drink. Miles is shocked to learn it's his glass Duke has been drinking, as someone is trying to kill him. The group begins to search for his phone, but no one can locate it. They were shocked to learn Duke's gun was also missing, as he always carries it with him. When the clock strikes 10, the lights in the building go off. Blanc takes out a torch as Whiskey enters, yelling that Andy has ransacked their room. Blanc pursues Andy in the darkness, but just as they start talking, an unidentified assailant fires a gun, striking Andy. When the rest of the group comes out, they notice Blanc standing over her. The group is then gathered in another room by Blanc. The film then flashes back to when Blanc was visited by Andy's twin sister, Helen, who brought the smashed-up puzzle box with her. Helen informs Blanc that Andy is said to have committed suicide a few days ago, but she believes she was murdered. She reveals Andy didn't support Miles on the clear deal because she knows it was potentially dangerous. But he went behind her back and persuaded her friends to testify against her to remove her from Alpha completely. Helen points out that they were close friends with Andy before she introduced them to Miles, whom they all thought was a loser. They only cared about him after he reached the top and helped them. In her rage, Andy discovered the real cocktail napkin on which she conceived all of the ideas of her company Alpha, before Miles stole it from her and claimed it as his own. Andy puts the napkin in an envelope and mails that picture to her friends, giving them one last chance. Because the envelope was missing from her home and there was no suicide note, Helen believes one of them poisoned Andy and made it look like a suicide. Blanc devises the plan for him and Helen to visit the island, with Helen posing as Andy. She initially refuses, but Blanc convinces her and helps to disguise herself as Andy by changing her hair and accent. On the boat, Duke and Bertie are surprised by the presence of Andy, so Blanc advises Helen on how to avoid suspicion. Helen gets drunk and eavesdrops on the island's visitors to find their motives and opportunities. She overhears Lionel and Claire discussing how Claire jeopardizes their careers, as Claire may lose potential voters for supporting it. Lionel hasn't disclosed that Claire is prone to leakage and causing massive explosions. Helen also places a recorder in Bertie's bag, which records her conversation with Peg. Bertie tells Peg that she has to make a statement that she would accept full responsibility for the Bangladesh sweatshops for Miles to compensate her. Later, Whiskey speaks to Helen and reveals that she is unhappy with Duke. It was also revealed that he asked Whiskey to seduce Miles to persuade him to allow Duke to appear on Alpha News, because Duke tried to sell erection pills to teenage boys. At the evening party, Blanc instructs Helen to start an argument that she will lose so she can leave the party and search people's rooms for the envelope. After Duke is killed, Whiskey finds Helen in her room after making it a mess. She points a Trident gun at her, but the lights go out, allowing Helen to flee. She and Blanc catch up before the assailant shoots at her. Helen survives because she has Andy's handbooks on her jacket, but Blanc uses Jeremy Renner's brand hot sauce to fool the rest of the group into thinking Helen is dead, allowing her to continue her search. Helen begins to receive condolences from people over Andy's death, and learns the news was made public. She later enters Miles's office and finds the envelope. Meanwhile, Blanc informs the group that Miles is not the tech genius he portrays himself to be due to his use of malapropisms and other illogical ideas. He goes on to say his glass by mistake, but Blanc says Miles directly handed it to him. Lionel wonders why Miles would kill Duke. Blanc explains that after Lionel sends him the mail in which Andy was holding the envelope, Miles realizes Andy will destroy his life. So he went to her place, killed her by poisoning her coffee, and Duke saw him while he was leaving. Duke showed Miles the article about Andy's death, which he thought he could use to blackmail him into joining Alpha News. So Miles decides to get rid of him, and put pineapple juice in Duke's drink, knowing he is allergic to pineapples. Miles then takes Duke's gun and waits until the lights go off. He finds Helen outside the mansion and shoots her. Helen appears, startling everyone and revealing herself as Andy's twin sister. She then presents the napkin to prove that Andy is the true mastermind behind Alpha. Miles burns the napkin, leaving them with no proof. The rest of the group remains silent, as they are scared to speak against Miles, so Helen tells them they are shitheads. Since Blanc can't prove anything to the court and the police, he resigns himself to failure and leaves Helen with a drink. He believes she is more quick-witted when drunk. She finishes her drink and starts breaking Miles' various valuable items. The rest of the group rallies around Helen and begins smashing things until Helen starts a fire. She then gives Miles the other thing Blanc left her, a sample of clear. Helen throws it into the fire, causing it to enter the vents and cause a massive explosion, destroying the glass onion. Blanc and Dirol observe from afar while smoking cigars. As Miles' house burns down, Helen decides to repay him one last favor by opening the case containing the Mona Lisa and allowing it to catch fire. Helen leaves the house and joins the guests. Miles angrily comes after Helen and mocks her, as she still hasn't proof that supports Andy's claims, but she is content knowing that she destroyed Miles' reputation and entire business empire. Soon the guests agree to testify against Miles. Helen then joins Blanc by the beach, just as the police boats arrive. Thank you for watching. Make sure to subscribe, and turn on notifications to watch more videos like this.